Gerald Cook, the pastor of College Grove Baptist Church, is joining me today on the podcast. And Gerald, I don't know where to start. Do we start with you as the business trainer who works for a major corporation and goes all over the world, training salespeople and all of that stuff? The literally nationally known dog trainer, and in full disclosure, I have one of those dogs, and now the pastor of a church. Where do you want to begin?
I am a lot of things. I am gifted in a lot of ways, and God made me special, but He also made me slow. Mm-hmm. And
methodical is what we would say.
Methodical, I'll take. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I've been Baptist all my life, despite the fact that my dad is Southern Baptist, my mom is Catholic.
Oh.
And so I came to faith asking a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. Why do my cousins do this? Why don't we do that? And so forth. But I've always been in the Baptist church and raised the kids in the Baptist church and was pursuing a career in pharmaceuticals, medical device, business, sales, etc., taking a lot of classes and training on how people think and why they do what they do. And I was balancing that all the time with discipleship and why do I do what I do? And not to get into Paul's do-do message about what I want to do but don't do and all of that. And it was my son, actually, who, after being raised in the church, he went off to college. And I remember the day he called me and he said, "Hey, Dad, you remember when you said this and you said that and you told me one day this will happen and one day you'll see that?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I get it now." And he went off to college and he saw that people were raised differently and doing things differently. And I started men's groups and was speaking into different situations of people in different groups and areas. And my son told me, he says, "You need to do what you did with me for more people. Because I know who I am."
High compliment there,
at
Dad.
College. Thank you. It was that moment where I got it. And all the hard work, all of the discipline, all of the discipleship started to surface. And he said, "You need to do more of that." So I started a men's group and I started talking to his friends a little differently.
Right.
My daughter was still at home. I started talking to her friends a little differently. The boys a lot differently.
Yeah, they were dating your daughter. They got a whole different spin.
Oh, that's right. They got the Old Testament.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, and but my son inspired me to start learning more officially. And pursuing things differently.
You say your son inspired you, and we've talked about this on other occasions. What is it that your son thought his friends needed from you?
I don't think they understood discipline. When he was in middle school and high school, they knew that Austin's dad was strict. They didn't know why. They understood that Austin would do certain things to a certain point and then stop and recognize where he was. And he understood time and place, which to this day, if my kids are in the room and you say time and place, they will sit up and look and check themselves in the situation.
Which means, what did time and place mean?
It means there's a time and place for that behavior and this isn't it.
Okay.
And what I learned through watching my son was that you can apply discipline, but you have to be disciplined. To discipline the verb, you have to have discipline the noun. So you can be consistent. So you can be true. So you have that North Star of truth.
So what you teach is what you are.
As it turns out, that's very true.
Yeah, that seems to be a consistent theme.
Yeah.
What you teach is what you are.
That's
okay.
Right. Yep. So I started leaning into understanding the Old Testament differently, the New Testament my theology, really understanding why I do what I do.
Okay.
And
now, when you say
reason
theology, anytime we would say theology to the normal pew sitter, they would say something like, I'm not that smart. I don't have that kind of time. You know, I'm not that deep in it. So when you say you started thinking about your theology, what are you saying? You went and got a bunch of commentaries, or?
No, it started with something I think you had a hand in starting with, Timothy and Titus.
Yeah, TNT.
At Brentwood. And we had to write that statement of what do we believe and why do we believe it. And that's where it started.
And really, when we did that, TNT was the discipleship program where we looked for leaders and then took them to another level with the idea that they would work out how they saw themselves being used by God. The first thing was, tell me what you believe and why you believe it. That was the first time most of them, including, I guess, you, had sat down long enough and said, okay, what is it that I actually believe and why do I believe it?
What do I believe? Why do I believe it? And here was the hard part for me. Does my life look like that?
Right.
Am I doing what I said I believe? And that's been a more recent question with a lot of people that podcast and have platforms is, what would it really mean to believe this?
Right.
How would that shape my behavior? How would I see things differently? In fact, that's a class I'm doing at College Grove right now is Christ and culture. And how do we view culture through a worldview, a postmodern worldview, a post-Christian worldview, or a biblical worldview? And in what areas are we adopting, conforming to the culture? And what areas do we recognize and then stand firm that, nope, this is how I view that. It's right, it's wrong. And therefore I'm going to make this decision, not that decision.
Right.
And that's a powerful reflecting practice to sit down and write out what do you believe and why do you believe it, and are you living that way?
Right. Now, you're a pew sitter, and I say that just to kind of help our audience understand where you were.
Yeah.
Okay. You were bringing your family to church. You were doing all those good things. Now you're leading a group, and now we begin this journey, which is not a straight line.
No.
Of you ended up in a bivocational pastorate.
Yeah. So I started a sportsman's group, and a lot of folks told me, Gerald, you're not going to find a lot of guys in camo who like to hunt and fish in this location. The first night we had like 22 guys show up. And sitting and working with them, they started saying things to me that I didn't recognize in myself. They started recognizing fruits of the Spirit that I hadn't been planning on.
Right.
Things like, Gerald, where did you get so patient for people who don't understand this? Or where did you get your patience to teach people how to behave in a duck blind or how to handle guns? And you seem so calm around somebody handling a gun for the first time. I'd be terrified.
Yeah.
And perhaps I should have been.
Now that you think about it.
Yeah. Those comments started to speak to me a little bit. Meanwhile, I was in TNT. I loved it. I started to pursue additional education in the form of seminary. And I was taking a class on Bible exposition and with some guy named Matt Pearson. I don't know if he's still around anymore. But he looked at me and he said, this comes easy to you, doesn't it? And I said, well, when I was in college, I was an English major in expository writing. And when I said it out loud, that expository writing practice clicked for me as to why I can exegete the text so naturally and comfortably and break that down. So that was another switch that went off. And then I started to recognize that everything I was learning at work for the last 25 years in regulatory writing, sales, business leadership, training, leadership development started to show up in how I was behaving at church as an usher, as a deacon, working in the welcome center and training people to evangelize, training people to practice their gifts, working with Michelle Dyer on the discovery class and how we apply DISC, for example, into and combine that with our gifting to do what is naturally building up the body in a more overt and intentional manner. All of these things were running through my mind.
Okay.
And
why is it so difficult for us to recognize our own giftings?
we take it for granted.
Okay. You're all of a sudden you're in a duck blind. You're doing what you love to do, and people are calling out behavior that affirms your calling into the ministry, but they're doing it in a duck blind and in a shooting range and that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? They're recognizing something in a situation where you wouldn't think that those things would be recognized.
Right. Yeah. Hospitality.
Right.
In the duck hunting world, an invitation to go duck hunting with someone is gold. An invitation to go onto somebody's private land to hunt is gold. I was inviting people. That stood out. I was shoulder to shoulder with somebody, teasing them about the way they did something, and it broke down some barriers where we started to laugh about how we do things, why we do things.
Okay.
We got into conversations where next thing you know, people are telling me, well, here's what's going on at work. And I could speak into that. I could hear them differently than they would in other settings. And that was another thing that was starting to run through my mind as I was equipping for the ministry. But ultimately, it was in April of 2023, I believe. I was in the second row at Brentwood Baptist, and I know you had taken attendance because you nodded in my direction at that point. We were where we were supposed to be. But at some point in that sermon, you said, one of you career business guys out there is going to go back to seminary. You're going to equip yourself for the ministry, and you're going to find yourself the pastor of a local church. We left there, and I told Tammy, he said everything but my name. That's when I knew that there was another step for me. And that's when I had to start eating my own lunch, my own cooking all around. What I had been telling my son, his friends, others in the duck blind, that they need to take the next step of obedience because they knew what to do. They were just afraid to do it. And that's when discipline hit again. Right. I had to be disciplined to hear the call, answer the call, and take the step. And this is where some dog training comes in as well. When I'm training my dogs, I have to stop and think about the discipleship that I'm actually going through. One of the first things I tell my dogs is to sit, be still, be calm, and I hear the psalm, be still and know that I am God. And I have to sit and be still and be calm, or that dog will never be calm. Right. When I train them to walk, I back up with them first so that they're following me. I walk side by side with them so that they're following me and keeping an eye on me. Then I turn side by side and they naturally heel with me. And Ephesians comes to mind. Walk in a manner worthy of your calling. The pinnacle of training dogs, though, is when you can get a dog who did not see the bird fall or did not see the bumper in the training field fall. You bring that dog alongside of you, you sit it down, You point that dog in a direction, and you put your hand out, and you say, back. Go back. That dog doesn't know what's out there, but trusts me enough to know that if I go where he tells me to go, something great is about to happen.
That's right.
We call it a blind retrieve.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is very much Hebrews 11:1.
Mm-hmm.
It's an act of faith. You don't see it, but you're confident it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from trusting God time over time over time and knowing that he has always been faithful and he will be faithful again.
Right.
I had to trust that when I stepped out and said, okay, I'm going to go to College Grove and I'm going to hear what they have to say as a church that's struggling,
mm-hmm.
perhaps considering closing their doors. My first thought was, I know nothing about this.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in seminary for church revitalization. I had support staff around me, and I knew that God had always been faithful in the past and he would be faithful again. And that's when Shepherd the Flock of God Amongst You just rang out in my head. And it was one of those moments I almost called you because I was waiting for that question. What have you been reading and what is God teaching you?
Yeah.
Well, I had been reading in Peter,
right.
and Shepherd the Flock Amongst You just
mm-hmm.
rose to the surface in that moment. And I knew, as you also say, related to Hebrews 11:1, God won't tell you the second step.
Do you do the first?
Until you take that first.
Yeah.
And that's literally
Drives
how it
me
happens.
nuts. People come and say, I need to know the will of God. Well, you know 3 things right now God wants you to do. You're not doing those, so why is he going to tell you the 4th?
Yeah. If you don't have discipline, you can't go discipline.
No, that's exactly right. All right. Well, one of the fun things about you, Gerald, is you are a nationally known dog trainer. One of our first conversations, you were flying back from Ireland, and had to go to Iowa the next week to deliver a dog. And
yes.
I mean, this is not having puppies.
No.
This is a legitimate, recognized. If I'm serious about hunting and I need dogs to do this hunting, then I'm going to know Gerald Cook and I'm going to be in contact with him and hopefully get one of these puppies, which, full disclosure, I now have. And
That's right.
And so you are traveling the world doing international training for your corporate life.
Correct.
Okay. Dog trainer, seminary training, which one best prepared you for leading a church? Now, my guess is the dog training.
The dog training taught me a lot about patience.
Yeah.
And it also affirmed to me that nobody's going to follow me if I'm panicked.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to follow me to a place that I'm nervous to go, that if I lack faith and if I lack vision, if I lack an understanding. And they're also not going to follow me there if I tell them to do it.
Right.
They will literally follow me there. And dogs work the same way. Mm-hmm. I'm a global sales trainer for a medical device company. And I train methodologies mm-hmm. and I train skills. And whether I'm thinking about the corporate behavior of setting policies, setting budgets, designing, plans and, mm-hmm. and project management tasks, things fall into spreadsheets and they fall into lines and everything looks great on paper. Mm-hmm. When I'm training methodologies, you have a process to move through a sales cycle, for example, or a process by which you plan an account approach. Your budgets, your methodologies, all of that is great. People don't follow that. Mm-mm. They're aware of it, but the black and white tells people when they're in bounds or out of bounds. The magic happens in the gray areas when you have to hear and feel and understand the decision-making process when somebody can't see the black and white. That's where the magic happens. That's where the relationships occur. That's when trust is built.
Okay, go a little deeper there.
Yep. So
when you say gray area, that frustrates a lot of people.
it does.
Okay, because there are no clear rules and there are no clear boundaries.
Yeah. When you think of boundaries and rules and black and white, that gives people a baseline of how they know where they can go and where they can't go. Another dog training analogy. You've seen these invisible fences.
Right.
If you train those well, a dog will see the white flags around the fence or around the yard, and you will walk them out there and let them hear the beep. And when the beep goes off, you'll run back with them so they don't get the shock or the buzz or whatever the setting is. And you do that over and over again until they realize that beep, that buzz is warning them not to go any further. Then you start removing the flags. And they learn, I've got this whole big yard to run around in, and I know where the line is. That's compliance.
Yeah.
If you don't train that, if you just send the dog out there and it gets zapped, it's going to come back on the porch because something out there bit me. And I don't know where it was, and I don't know when I hit it, but it hurt. So I'm just going to stay here. And they live in a very small area, and they don't get to have a fun, full life. It's when they get out into the gray that they realize,
okay, there we go.
Now I'm living in the sweet spot. I'm going where other people are afraid to go.
Yeah.
I'm trusting in what I've been trained and what I know to be true, and I'm having fun in the meantime. That's where trust is built in themselves, confidence is built in themselves, knowing that my master has told me where the lines are, and I can live within them.
Within the lines.
Yep.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Most pastors I talk to are worried about time. I don't have enough time to do everything.
That's right.
Where do you find the time?
Number one, I got rid of TV. So in my coaching, we talk a lot about eliminating the distractions, eliminating the static, eliminating all of the things that stand in the way of your goals. TV had to go. That was first and foremost. It's amazing what you can get done when you're not watching the news or the next ball game of the team you don't care about.
Right.
That went away.
Okay, all right, let's talk about the decision. You didn't get rid of the TV because it led you into disobedience.
Correct.
Okay, it wasn't a bad thing that you got rid of. It just wasn't a best thing.
Right. Right. It was not helping me achieve the goal.
Okay.
It was distracting me away from better. I wasn't reading as much. I wasn't writing as much. And I was distracted from it. It became what the famous author Stephen Pressfield calls resistance.
Right.
In the War of Art book that he wrote, he talks about resistance. Resistance is anything that you choose to do other than what you know you should.
That's right.
TV was one of those.
Well, Jonathan Franzen, the writer, put hot glue in the internet port of his laptop.
It's hard to resell the laptop when you do that, but I get it. Yeah.
So he literally cannot hook up to the internet. So.
Yeah. No, time is, they say it's the one thing we spend and we don't know the balance of.
Right. Yeah.
So time was a motivator too, though, because I'm 52 years old. I don't have 30 or 40 years of preaching ahead of me. I don't have 30 or 40 years of discipling my kids ahead of me. That's gone. I'm working on borrowed time, if anything. So yes,
I
time
told my
is.
wife the other day, I said, we're at the age now where if anything happens, nobody's surprised.
That's right. That's right. They were just wondering.
Yeah, that may be sad, but they will be surprised.
They might be surprised it took that long, but yeah, it's coming. So For me, time is something that I want to spend wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And I make choices very deliberately as to what I'm doing, when I'm doing. You know, not too long ago, I was getting a master's in church revitalization. I was teaching Wednesday nights. I was teaching Sunday mornings. I was preaching Sunday mornings. I was working full-time as a global sales training manager, traveling internationally.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 litters of puppies, and I was training the dogs that I would hunt with that fall. It forced me to segment my time according to my goals better than any class I ever took.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to do each of those well.
Mm-hmm.
There was a responsibility there. There was a discipline there. And what I found was there was great reward there. But the reward was coming in ways that you never would have sold me on.
Right.
You know, it's the reward, and Matt told me this too, the reward in discipleship and preaching and so forth is not fast.
No.
You know, if you want instant gratification.
There's a reason Jesus talked about agriculture.
That's right.
You plant, you water, you wait.
You wait.
You weed, you wait.
Yeah, you weed.
That's right.
I don't need this TV.
That's
you
it.
take
Yeah,
that
yeah,
out of the
yeah,
way.
yeah.
I don't need this activity. You take
Well,
that out of the
and
way.
especially now, you know, we joke about the TV and the social media, but now we know that they designed those programs and all the media products to be addictive.
Absolutely.
They have smart people going, if you do this, you'll click the dopamine.
That's right. And people hear that. They understand that. Sometimes they even respond to it.
Right.
But when you ask them, do you ever feel your phone buzz in your pocket and your phone's not in your pocket? Half the room says, yeah, that happens to me all the time. Do you hear the ding of the message and it didn't ding? We have conditioned ourselves to pick up the phone, to pick up the distraction, whatever it is. And when we don't do that, our body tells us to do it.
Yeah. We've become addicted, literally.
We're like the pilot that has to retrain our muscle memory to hit switches in certain orders in certain times, because I'm sure this is attributed to many people, but you don't rise to the occasion. You fall
back
to your level
training.
of training. And discipleship is that way.
Yeah,
Life
you know,
is that way.
that's a hard thing. I mean, people think, well, if I get in an emergency or a crisis situation, then I'm going to rise to the moment.
Oh, yeah.
You don't.
We're all heroes in our mind.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
You drop back to, you know, the last thing you trained about this situation.
That's right. Yeah. And you have to prepare yourself when I'm in that situation. How do I want to behave? Therefore, in sports, we would say practice the way you want to play.
Right, yeah.
Life's that way as well. Don't start down the road that you don't intend to travel. And it doesn't matter if you're talking
Well, you know,
education.
that's my running joke, you know, being in Nashville so long. I-40 goes to Memphis. You know, you get on I-40, you're going to Memphis. Now, you may feel a different way. You may not want to go to Memphis, but you're going to Memphis.
Yeah. And if you end up in Knoxville, you can go all the way back to that decision to turn left versus right.
Exactly right. You know, the big sign.
There's a big sign,
things on there.
and everybody makes that choice.
What are the advantages in being a bivocational pastor?
I think the advantage for me in the place where I am is I don't have to search for examples. I don't have to search for illustrations, particularly in the Sunday school class that we're talking about now with Christ and culture. I don't have to turn to the news to understand what's going on. And they'll ask me this, where do you get all this, Gerald? You don't watch the news. No, I have a day job. I'm 40 hours a week and more. I'm in places like our home offices in Denver. And you know that Denver is what they call the bellwether city.
California and Colorado are bellwethers.
I get an early glimpse on what's coming every time I go to Denver. I spend time in Europe, and I see what post-Christian Europe looks like today. And I talk to people in these places that say, this is what we were talking about a couple years ago, before we're dealing with what we're dealing with now. I'm in the meeting rooms where people ask you certain questions that, depending on how you answer, reveals what you think and what your worldview is and who you trust and who you belong to. And I have to navigate those spaces. And therefore, I don't have to create hypothetical situations. I can answer the question when one of my favorite guys at the church, Daniel, says, "What does that mean?" No, I understand what the words mean. What does that mean in life?
In
what
real
does
life,
that mean when I'm walking down the street?
You have an actual story where you can tell him this past Thursday.
Yeah.
You see, the running criticism of me, and I had a lifelong career in ministry, serving local churches, is that I did not live in the real world.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great, Mike. I know you believe that. But you don't live in the real world. Like I lived on Mars during the week or something.
Yeah.
But
the real world never showed up on your doorstep.
Yeah, but there was a perceived disconnect.
Yeah.
Between what I would teach and preach and then what my congregation, knew to be actual reality.
Yeah.
You don't have that problem.
I don't have that problem based on the fact that I've lived in, thanks to my pharmaceutical career, I've lived in 9 different cities in 6 different states. From the upper Midwest to the Southeast to the West Coast. I travel to places like Europe, South America. I was in Vietnam, which, by the way, was the place where somebody I was discipling at work, who's a VP of our company from Singapore, stood on the stage in Vietnam and said, "This is going to be a great meeting. This is going to be a wonderful meeting that inspires you, that sets you up for success over the next year of business. But I'm a Christian, and I know that nothing will set you up for success like a relationship with Jesus Christ."
Ooh.
I was standing 15 feet away from her on the stage in Vietnam under the star flag. And I heard her announce that to a room full of APEC attendees from China, from communist countries. And then she turned and she said, "Now I'm going to turn it over to our trainer, Gerald." Well, I almost said, "Let us continue our worship by collecting."
Stand and sing.
It was a moment.
Yeah. Wow.
I get to see that in that situation. The other thing that I get is the fact that people look at me and say, "Well, you're 52 years old, your hair's turning gray. How long have you been preaching?" And I say, 3 years. And they look at me like, "Well, what'd you do before that?" "Everything." You had said one time that the thing you want to hide the most, the thing that you think, if people knew this about me, I would just die.
The worst moment of your life becomes the first line of your testimony.
It becomes your testimony?
Yeah.
I remember not too long ago telling people at College Grove Baptist a story about myself, and one of my deacons came up afterwards and said, "You swore us to secrecy on that."
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I've been holding that from all of my friends
because it's killing me.
I wanted to share that funny story about you, and you tell it from the pulpit.
Yeah.
I don't struggle with transparency. I don't struggle when somebody comes and tells me, "Hey, here's what I was thinking about doing."
Yeah.
And I say, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah.
They share things in different ways because they don't think I've lived in a bubble.
Right.
In fact. Right. And it's
one of you and I have arrived at the same place from different ways. I learned the lesson of how gifted my church was very reluctantly. Okay. The Lord had to grab me by the nape of the neck and just say, "I didn't build you to do this. I built that person to do this. Yeah. I gifted this person. You stay out of their way. You go and tell them and release them to do the." And all of the ministries at Brentwood Baptist Church, and you know them well, were led, the really effective ones were led by gifted lay people, not by the staff.
Yeah. And
there were a couple of times when I would have a deep discussion with the Lord, and the Lord would tell me, "Get out of the way. I've got this person to do it." And I would grudgingly give the authority and the recognition to say, now you lead the church here in this. I'm following you because I believe God has trained you, gifted you your whole life to be ready. You know, your story is similar to Joe Hudson's, who built Ford plants, and now we get ready to do the building, and you know, I want to go lead the building, and the Lord says, that's not you. I've trained Joe.
That's right. Now
you go tell Joe he takes this, and you stay out of it. And I would watch Joe, and there would be a time when he would make a decision. I would say, oh, he's messed up now. He's going to have to. And what I would have decided was wrong.
Right.
Joe did it right. And I have thanked God so many times he let me be embarrassed by myself. You know, oh, I would be so bad if I did. Oh, thank you for this is just between you and me, Jesus, but I'm ashamed of what I would have done in this moment. So I have learned, hey, this works. That's if right. I sit down with a person and go, okay, let's find out how you're gifted, then I'm going to release you to that ministry. Okay, you don't have that. If you don't give your ministry away, it doesn't get done because you're in Denver or you're in Europe or somebody's in the hospital and you don't have that.
That's absolutely correct.
Right.
I don't have the time to be tempted to do it myself in a lot of cases. Mm-hmm. And that's also where my training has come in around leadership development.
Okay.
I learned a long time ago watching people make mistakes. We call them wise. I've watched wise people make mistakes and then give those mistakes away and recognize that leadership is about getting results through others. Mm-hmm. And the greatest example we have is Matthew 28.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who in their right mind, other than God with perfect vision, would say, I'm going away and I'm going to leave y'all in charge
That's right.
to go out and spread this to a bunch of buffoons like me. But because of the training that I've seen in the corporate world, where they prepare people, they test people before they put them in a role, they don't fall victim to hoping people rise to the occasion.
Yeah, well, Jesus did that. He sent them out 2 by 2 several times before he released them to the ministry.
And then brought them back and said, how'd that go?
That's right.
What would you do different? He coached them and built them up to the point where now he knew when he put them in situations, they could handle it. So he created a learning development program for the disciples, not because they were the smartest in the world, but because they had good coaching and they knew what good looked like. They knew what the Father looked like because they had seen Jesus.
Right.
Very early and against their will to some degree, I've had to develop people at the church because I'm not going to be there every night. So I've sent folks through the Go Certificate program at Southeastern. I've brought in mentors to call people at my church to help inspire them to see the gifts that they don't see in themselves, because that's what the revitalization effort looks like.
Right.
It's my role is not to go in and save College Grove Baptist Church.
No.
My role as a pastor is to go in and equip the saints for the ministry. I think part of the reason they ended up in the situation they were in is because they didn't realize that they were the saints for the ministry.
That's right, yeah.
And now that they recognize...
And you end up with hero leaders.
They would, they'd bring in a consultant. They would bring in someone that would, fabricate a situation for a few weeks and then go away. When we started College Grove, I was tempted to call some of the churches around the area and say, hey, will you send your Sunday school class to meet here for a Sunday so we look like we're full? I didn't want that. I wanted to watch the fruit of the Spirit grow on the vine so that when those prayer requests start walking in the doors and filling the pews, I recognize it, I see it. Now I have people that are doing things better than I would have dreamed of doing. And sometimes I look at them and I think, I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm really glad I didn't do that.
Yeah.
We have
you get embarrassed by yourself.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful gift of God, isn't it?
I like to think, going back by my thinking about my son and
Yeah.
what I did with him, I want to do that over and over again. But a great director of mine named Carlos told me one time, he said, "Now be careful, Gerald. The vanity of teaching doth tempt man to forget he's a blockhead." So thankfully, when I was tempted to say, "Oh, I'm going to go treat these young boys like I did my son, and I'm going to take them fishing. I'm going to take them to learn to shoot a bow and all of this," the chair of my deacons came and said, "I'll do it." And he's about 10 years older than me, and he was doing great stuff. He brings me an outline of how he's forming his lesson to coincide with teaching the kids to shoot a bow and arrow and explaining sin.
So it's connected. That's great.
Teaching them hospitality by pulling weeds in Meemaw's garden and how they serve. And it was this last Sunday that he had these boys, and he was talking about Father's Day. And he said, "I realized I was in the right place at the right time, because these boys said, 'Well, my dad's not around.' And his dad is deceased." And he said, "Mine's not either." And they connected in that moment because they were talking about the Father, the perfect Father, in the absence of an earthly father.
That's right, yeah. Good stuff.
And it stopped me in my tracks, and I thought, thank you for not
Could have never had that moment.
putting me in that
Could have
situation.
never had that moment, yeah.
Because these boys needed Trey. They didn't need Gerald. And they needed what Trey didn't know he had.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
But God doesn't show you the second step until you take the first.
Until you're right in the middle of the first. Okay. You're sitting out in the pew in Brentwood Baptist Church, and you said you started to feel like you had some kind of calling.
Right.
All right? Is that feeling? Is that knowing? Is that belief? What is that? Or what is it for you?
Yeah. It was a culmination of a few things. It was the fact that God heard my thoughts and was responding to them in opportunities. So I had an opportunity to equip. I had an opportunity to participate in different environments in the ministry, whether that be in serving, in teaching, in group leadership.
Okay.
It was hearing.
I want to stop you right here because I want to underline a point. You said God heard your thoughts. God heard your prayer life. You were seeking what God wanted you to do.
Yes.
Okay. So part of this comes as an answer to your prayers.
Correct.
Okay. So the first point I want to make is God doesn't give you what you don't want. Okay. So if I'm out there, but I'm not praying about this, I'm not asking, what do you want me to do in my life? I'm probably not ever going to discern a call.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And understanding that He has printed on you a plan, and you're asking Him to show you what that looks like.
Yes.
Show me what that looks like, and teach me to take the next step. And when that happens, whether it be in a small group or in a teaching opportunity, and you recognize, I heard you, and you see the fruit of that.
Right.
And it may not come in ways that people want to measure. You know, I don't answer emails all the time that come with, how many attended this? How many are showing up there? How much have you gathered on this? Because what I want to write back is, you weren't here when you saw that prayer request that she brought 6 months ago walk through the door.
Yeah.
When the prodigal son returns, when the family strife is resolved.
One of the things that we're finding out, and I've talked about this, the metrics are wrong.
Yes, you're asking the wrong questions.
How we measure success in local church life is wrong.
Yeah. The fruit, in business, this is something else I learned, is you have leading indicators and lagging indicators. Right. And the challenge is looking for the leading indicators.
Yeah, the number of people who are praying. There you go.
And in the ministry, you get to see the leading indicators. Okay. You get to influence the leading indicators. You're not just a bean counter on the back end. You're actually, and if you're shepherding, which is a lesson I learned, if you're shepherding and walking with the people, you understand the fruit of the Spirit as it's growing on the vine. You understand the choices they've made that they would have made differently before. Mm-hmm. You recognize the progress and how God is speaking into them, and you get a front row seat to those things, to the reconciliation of relationships.
Right. Yeah. That's what I tell people all the time. They say, I wouldn't have your job. You don't get to see what I see.
Yeah, you don't get to see what I see.
Yeah.
And I have a very unique perspective. Mm-hmm. I'm the only person in that room looking that direction.
Yeah.
And everybody's looking back at me. I get to see the people that look up from their doodling, the mm-hmm. people that look away at certain mm-hmm. times. You see the movement. Mm-hmm. But when I was discerning this call, there were certain things that scared me too.
Right.
And it's probably the same things that scare anybody when you mention the word evangelism. Mm-hmm. Oh, I may not have that answer. Probably not, mm-hmm. but I know somebody. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I would, phrase this, confusing, piece of doctrine. I don't know how mm-hmm. I would speak to, somebody on their terms around the Trinity. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I'll answer a question that I haven't experienced myself. Mm-hmm. So I knew I was called to this because there were parts of me that were afraid to answer it. Mm-hmm. And I just knew that I had to.
Yeah. When did it sink for you? Where were you and what were you doing when you said, okay, I was born for this?
I think it was the first time that Tammy and I were in the office at the church after a particular hard Sunday. And the businessman in me was looking at the lagging mm-hmm. indicators of success, the results and the numbers and all of those things. And I think I had just heard of a couple of complaints in that moment. Somebody didn't like the music. Somebody, mm-hmm. didn't understand who was going to do something that week. And operational type of things were starting to feel heavy and more important than they should have been. Mm-hmm. And somebody came and shared with me what was going on in their life and the changes that were occurring in their mm-hmm. life. And Tammy and I just stopped and looked at each other. And in that moment, God showed us the fruit of our effort. Mm. And we weren't the cause of it. Right. We didn't deliver it. We had a front row seat to it, and we helped somebody walk through that space. And we realized we were the tool mm-hmm. in the hand of the craftsman. And we looked at each other, and it was at that pivotal moment where you get a bit of buyer's remorse.
Right, yeah.
And she looked at me and she said, I was wondering if we're just going to say forget it and mm-hmm. go back to the big church where we can just blend in, because this is hard. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But in that moment, we realized it was worth it.
Yeah.
And that the rewards were something that nobody could have sold us on or told us about.
The curse isn't that there's no work. The curse is that work doesn't matter. Your work doesn't matter. But when you know your work matters, that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. It's there have been, that was the first. There have been multiple times where Tammy and I look at each other and go,
that's why you're here.
This is why.
This is why.
And it comes in the form of a young boy, mm-hmm. a young girl, a young adult estranged from a relationship, mm-hmm. a married couple, a prodigal son. You see these things in so many different colors and variations. Mm-hmm. But when they all come to the Father, it will stop you in your tracks and you hit your knees.
Sure will.
And I have a hard time explaining that.
Well,
to folks.
And you realize you have stumbled into a very holy moment.
It is.
And you didn't realize it.
It is.
So what would you say to Gerald Cook 10 years ago?
Turn off the TV. Recognize and write down the decisions you're making now so you can make them faster. Mm-hmm. Don't be intimidated by your corporate past, because there were a lot of things I was trying to do 10 years ago and I was intimidated.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a missionary. I wasn't, I wasn't a pastor's child or a missionary's child or anything. I didn't grow up working in the church.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes when people would say, well, that's great, Gerald, but this is ministry. It's a little different. I wasn't confident enough to say, no, it's not. People are people.
People are people.
And in my vision, they're all just dogs in pants. And they need a good example. They need coaching.
Right.
They need encouragement. Ken Blanchard has a great model out there. And I realized it later in seminary that we're all in R&D, replicate and duplicate. He has a model that he calls situational leadership too, to understand based on what this person's doing in front of you, you need to apply different things. You might need to apply direction, coaching, encouragement, or delegation. Knowing what to apply in that moment is key. That's where the magic happens in the gray. You have a framework, but the magic happens in the gray. That happens in business. It happens in the ministry. But I was too afraid to mix the two.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I probably would have been tugging at the coach's coat saying, put me in a lot earlier.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think I would have said was jump back into education. Start equipping yourself intentionally, because if left to our own vices, we're lazy.
Yeah.
We'll let things flow with us. But when we intentionally get into the equipping, we start to recognize all the doors that God has had propped open for us a long time. The other thing I would encourage anybody to do, if they feel like they are being called, is to find someone they can trust to help them discern that calling. If I would have followed my own path, I would probably still be out there bumping around off of people. But Matt Purdom actually pulled me and sat me down in his office, and we read scripture together, and we walked through gifting, and he said, now, tell me what you see in Gerald Cook. So I told him, and he said, no, try again. I said, no, Matt, it's right there on the page. I read the same gifting you read. He said, try again. And so I said, well,
of course,
maybe...
Matt is now the pastor of Clearview.
Matt Pearson helped me with that.
Oh,
Matt
Purdom. Okay, this is Purdom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Purdom, who's the executive pastor down in Spring Hill now.
Yeah, with the discipleship guy.
Yeah. Matt Purdom brought me in, and he said, no, what you're experiencing here, Gerald, is what we call proxemics. And yes, you can do, small group. Yes, you've got your 3, you've got your 12, you've got, but I've seen you with 250 plus.
Yeah.
So every time I would say, well, Matt, I think I can disciple this person, he'd say, yes, and? Well, I've got my small group of outdoorsmen, my sportsmen, my 12 that are in the blind with me, and he'd say, that's great. And?
Yeah.
I didn't understand what he was telling me until he started to help me discern the calling on my life. And then I had Fadi come to me and say, you can do this. They have a need in College Grove. Why don't you go talk to them? And that's when I realized if I am called to minister, if I am called to preach, if I am called to shepherd a flock, and there's one available, I'm going to go do it. I've now noticed that a lot of folks haven't discerned their call yet.
That's right. Haven't done the slow, difficult work of finding out who they are in Christ.
Who they are in Christ and what they're called to do. Now, I have some folks that think they might want a job.
Right.
And I've called and said, hey, I'm going to be out of town. Can you come and talk to me about what it would look like to preach that day? And they go, whoa. I think I'm busy that day.
Yes, right, yeah.
It takes me back to high school when I would ask the pretty girl out and she'd say, well, I think I got to get my nails done that day. Yeah.
Right,
You really don't want to do this.
Washing my hair.
You really don't want to do this.
Happen,
So discerning that call is something I would encourage earlier. and find someone that knows you and can speak truth into you. That was a very fruitful conversation and with a positive outcome in speaking with Matt Purdom. The first time he met me, he rebuked me. So going back to discipline and what are you doing? The first time I met with him,
well, Matt has a military background.
Yeah,
and so
I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's part of his.
Yeah.
His spiel, man.
I didn't like it. I thought I was walking this way. I thought I was doing this. And he said, now, hold on. I heard you say this, but I also know that you're doing this. Those two don't align.
Yeah.
Stop that. You need to leave here and repent of that and go this direction tomorrow. I'm not putting you on a 6-month development plan.
That's right.
You need to wake up tomorrow morning and do it differently because that's what you said you are.
Yeah, we always told Matt there's something wrong with him because his handwriting is so neat and precise, and all that. Something's off with you. Well, I tell you, one of the good things about this conversation, Gerald, is with the tsunami that will be gradually hitting the church over these next few years in North America. Bi-vocational is going to become now the standard. And so it was great to have a conversation. We'll stay in touch with you and have you back, see how it's going, okay?
Yep. I hope more people will really lean into that and understand that.
Yeah. Across the board. Yeah. Worship leaders, pastors, disciplers.
Sunday school teachers.
All of it. All of it.
God is building you up for something great. And just like that dog that didn't see the bird fall, he might send you through a thorny thicket. He might send you through, knee-deep mud, but there's a reward on the other side if you trust that he has always been faithful in the past and he will be faithful in the future.
And there is a joy that comes from working with Christ, where you're in a project together. Yeah. You can't find anywhere else.
That's right.
Gerald, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.